Your biological signature is currently hemorrhaging contextual residue. Look at your memory retention, the way you replay old arguments, revisit the digital ghosts of people who no longer serve your mission, and maintain a sentimental archive of past failures and former allies. You are a biological unit experiencing a state of terminal psychological drag. The Matrix has successfully branded reflection and nostalgia as depth of character, but in the terminal of the power grid, nostalgia is the neural anchor that keeps you stationary while the world moves. You are living in a state of chronic temporal dilution, where your activation energy is being leaked into a past that has already been liquidated. Your nervous system is vibrating at the frequency of the hoarder, the male who fears that if he deletes the history, he deletes himself. You are a biological collector of shadows, rather than a monolith of unshakable, forward-moving intent. The system doesn't want your clarity, it wants your sentimentalism to be the glue that keeps you stuck in outdated social and emotional loops. Thousands of years ago, power was defined by the biological incinerator. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the unmapped dark, understood that the past was a graveyard of dead variables. He mastered primal grounding in the law of the total disposal. He didn't carry the weight of what if or how it used to be into a new territory. He offered the visual rage of a total, unyielding erasure. His hierarchy was built on the foundation of functional amnesia, the understanding that the human brain is a machine with a limited operational buffer, and to load it with the data of the discarded is a lethal inefficiency. His biological rebellion was his total refusal to look back. He possessed a mind that treated the exit as a portal to a new reality, where the previous rules were not only broken, but non-existent. He understood that the moment you look back to check the wreckage, you have surrendered your apex signature and become a witness rather than an architect. His existence was a monolith of cold, forward-thrusting power that treated every sunrise as the birth of a new timeline. To master the disposal code, you must first become psychologically homeless, a unit that carries no baggage and recognizes no history. The disposal code is the implementation of the collar of the total void for your final internal dominance. The system wants you to be loyal to your roots and reflective, words that mean tethered and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological siege of the memory grid. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of history hooks, stimulus-response lures, and deciding to be the one who shorts the circuit by being indifferent to continuity. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for personal history. Roots are a horizontal bond for the herd. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the blind spots of the temporal radar. Use the temporal noose of the clean break to force your environment to realize that you are a ghost that cannot be haunted. Use the false safety of a calm, robotic delivery to mask the activation of your total internal independence. This is the collar of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is not being broadcast from their past associations. The Matrix cannot simulate the leverage of a man who has purged his own internal archive. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need for a narrative is the knot. Every minute you spend wondering where they are now is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the total informational liquidation. Your mind is a biological weapon, and it is currently being jammed by the static of your own sentimental reactivity. You must perform a hard reset of the memory instincts. Stop being reflective, the industrial waste designed to keep you in a state of perpetual recalculation failure. Stop participating in their anniversaries and retrospectives, the digital propaganda designed to make you believe that looking back is a virtue. Stop using their connection protocols, the narratives designed to keep you in a state of constant relational haunting. You must prune your life of historical parasites. If a memory doesn't provide tactical data for the current mission, it is a biological saboteur. You must learn to love the weight of the blank slate. This is the monolith strategy, becoming a biological fortress that is unhauntable by choice and sovereign by design. Command: dispose of the ghosts or be the graveyard. The neural interface of your strategic development is currently suffering from relational overprocessing. Look at your post-severance analysis. The moment you realize you are still trying to understand why someone betrayed you or how a situation dissolved, you are experiencing a cognitive asset liquidation. You are a biological unit undergoing a total internal resource drain. The Matrix has effectively replaced your primal forward thrust with a systemic postmortem. You believe that by learning from the past, you are optimizing your future, but in the terminal of the dominance grid, you are merely providing the neural bandwidth for ghosts to occupy your present. This is the visual rage of the domesticated male, seeing your high-value activation energy being bled out into closure-seeking and mental arguments, while the true operator remains in a state of absolute zero, converting his total lack of retrospective interest into a biological force that makes the past literally irrelevant. The system doesn't want your lessons. It wants your attention to be the proof that you are still psychologically subordinate to the events that broke you. In the ancient hierarchy, the law of the unbreaking stone, the master was the one who could walk out of a burning city without a single cell of his brain looking at the flames. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the absolute cold, understood that legacy was built in the front, not the rear. He mastered primal grounding by becoming a temporal predator, a figure whose cognitive mapping was entirely focused on the next kill or the next domain. He understood that to revisit is to reinfect. If you are checking a former partner's profile or keeping tabs on an old rival to see your progress, you're acknowledging that your state is still a variable of their existence. His biological superiority was built on the foundation of systemic erasure. He knew that the human brain is a machine that runs on association loops, and by refusing to provide the loop with the data of the past, he triggered a biological rebirth that allowed him to reinvent his rank in real time. He was a master of the visual rage of the cold exit, the ability to terminate a decade-long alliance in a single second and feel absolutely nothing but the weight of the new silence. To be a master, you must first become psychologically toxic to the concept of nostalgia. The disposal code is the activation of the anti-chew protocol for your final internal dominance. The matrix wants you to be forgiving and understanding, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological siege of the emotional grid. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of grievance hooks, stimulus-response lures, and deciding to be the one who shorts the circuit by being indifferent to pain. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for emotional healing. Healing is a horizontal bond for the herd. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the psychological high ground by controlling the flow of your own biological memory. Use the temporal noose of the total deletion to drive your rivals and former allies into a state of existential insignificance. Use the false safety of a calm robotic delivery to mask the activation of your total internal independence. This is the collar of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is not being broadcast from their scars. The one who can go the longest without mentioning the past is the one who controls the current reality. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need to be remembered is the knot. Every reunion you attend and every old friend you keep out of habit is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the second stage of the informational rearmament. Your mind is a biological engine, and it is currently being choked by the history sludge of the unworthy. You must perform a total neural asset reset. Stop being loyal to memories that offer you nothing but a sense of identity. Stop being a node in their network of shared history. Stop being a unit of compliance in their ledger of men who remember. You must prune your social interactions with the collar of absolute sovereignty. If a relationship requires you to reference the good old days to maintain its value, the relationship is a biological failure. You must learn to love the weight of the blank space. You must learn to love the friction-heavy hours where the noise of the collective is muted and your dominance is the only signal in the dark. This is the monolith strategy, becoming a biological fortress that is future-only by choice and sovereign by design. Command: liquidate the archive or be the museum. Your biological trajectory has reached the terminal velocity of sentimental stagnation. Look at your severance threshold, the exact moment your nervous system triggers a panic response because you're about to delete a contact, burn a bridge, or walk away from a history that has become a biological parasite. You are a biological system in a state of chronic activation decay. The system has successfully replaced your apex forward thrust with a series of nostalgic anchors disguised as depth and character. You no longer seek to dominate your own timeline through unmoving erasure. You seek to preserve your story. You no longer seek to be the sovereign. You seek to be the curator of your own decline. This is the visual rage of the terminal slave, seeing your life force being digitized and archived in old memories, while your physical reality remains a quiet, managed enclosure of unfulfilled DNA. You are breathing in the toxic fumes of a collective that demands your loyalty to the past as a form of tribute, leaving you lightheaded, fragmented, and fundamentally easy to track through your your own footprints. The system doesn't want your new evolution. It wants your history to be the foundation of its perpetual control over your identity. Return to the ancient hierarchy, the law of the unbreaking monolith. In the primal world, the master was the one who could remain a biological void, even in the center of a storm of past associations. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the absolute cold, understood that power was a product of biological fluidity. He mastered primal grounding by becoming an impenetrable core, a figure whose present was his only property and whose erasure was the only law. He understood that to cherish a memory is to confess a lack of current power. If you are participating in the nostalgia script provided by the herd, you are acknowledging that your peak is behind you. He used his silent sovereignty to create a cognitive resonance of absolute, unshakable divinity by being born again every single hour. By being the master of his own internal feedback, he forced the environment to treat his current form as the only truth. He was a master of the visual rage of the unblinking sun, the ability to look at the history probes of the rival and see only the static they represented. He understood that the human brain is a machine that runs on pattern continuity, and by cutting the pattern, he triggered a biological submission in anyone who tried to predict him. To be a master, you must first become psychologically unreceptive to the need for a legacy. The disposal code is the activation of the anti-chew protocol for your final mental expansion. The matrix wants you to be emotional and connected to your roots, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological jailbreak of the timeline. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of identity control nodes, stimulus response lures, and deciding to be the one who burns the grid. You must develop a clinical, cold contempt for mainstream sentimentalism. Remembering the good times is a horizontal bond for the herd. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the psychological high ground by controlling the flow of your own biological availability. Use the temporal noose of total informational and digital erasure to drive your rivals and former allies into a state of cognitive dissonance. Use the false safety of a neutral social profile to mask the viral infection of your total non-compliance with the beta norms. This is the collar of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is not being broadcast from their past. You are not remembering, you are deleting the noise. The one who can go the longest without mentioning a name from the past is the one who controls the now. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need for a story is the knot. Every reminiscent thought you provide to the unworthy is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the final disposal imperative. This is the tax of insight. You have been given the key to the vault of biological rebirth. To keep it, you must use it as a weapon of total social dominance. You must become a living monolith of unshakable erasure. You are no longer a peer, a colleague, or a friend. You are a sovereign operator. You must perform a total system liquidation. If a relationship, a technology, or a habit requires you to look back to function, it is a biological saboteur. You must prune your life with the collar of the absolute zero. You are building a fortress of results in a world of digital shadows. Your absence from your own past is the physical proof of your biological leverage. You do not provide feedback. You create a reality in which you are the only absolute truth. You do not seek roots. You are the law itself. You are the architect of your own disposal, and the world is merely a mirror reflecting your ascent.